Feed is the material foundation for animal growth and production, and it is also a key factor determining production efficiency and economic benefits. For small ruminants such as goats and sheep, the same feed can produce significantly different results depending on how it is processed and fed. Today we'll discuss the correct way to feed corn to small ruminants. Corn is the primary energy source in the diets of goats, sheep, and other small ruminants. Generally speaking, corn accounts for 20% to 30% of the total diet. In diets for high-producing animals, the proportion of corn is relatively higher. In practice, there are several ways to feed corn. These include direct whole kernel feeding, simple coarse grinding or cracking, and the method many people are accustomed to, grinding the corn very fine before feeding. In recent years, other methods have also emerged, such as steam-flaked corn and high-moisture corn. Today we will mainly focus on comparing the feeding effects of whole corn kernels, coarsely ground or cracked corn, and finely ground corn on small ruminants. Sheep and goats have 4 stomach compartments: the rumen, reticulum, omasum, and abomasum, which is also called the true stomach. The rumen and reticulum are the main sites for microbial digestion. Microbes break down roughage fibers and starches, producing volatile fatty acids that the body can use. This is the most fundamental and important energy source for small ruminants and the basic substrate for milk fat synthesis in dairy goats. Whole corn kernels are about 5 mm in diameter, while the opening of the omasum in small ruminants is roughly 1 mm and has the ability to contract both horizontally and vertically. Particles smaller than about 2 mm can pass through the omasum quickly. Larger whole corn kernels have difficulty passing directly through the omasum opening, so they remain in the rumen reticulum. This prolonged presence stimulates continued rumination, chewing, and swallowing in the animal, allowing starch to be digested slowly and steadily in the rumen. This improves energy utilization from the feed and enhances production performance. In addition, the slow release of starch from whole corn helps maintain a stable rumen environment. This is especially important when high-producing animals are fed large amounts of corn. Feeding whole corn can prevent a sharp drop in rumen pH, ensure efficient degradation of roughage, improve the utilization efficiency of feed energy and protein, and reduce the risk of rumen acidosis. In contrast, coarsely ground or cracked corn has a smaller particle size, generally around 2 mm, so it can pass through the omasum relatively quickly and enter the small intestine. However, the small intestine of goats, sheep, and other small ruminants has limited capacity to digest starch. It cannot efficiently handle large amounts of bypass starch, leading to a considerable amount of undigested corn being excreted in the feces, wasted, and potentially causing hindgut acidosis or inflammation. Finely ground corn is rapidly degraded in the rumen, causing a quick drop in rumen fluid pH and increasing the risk of rumen acidosis. It is also unfavorable to the degradation of roughage. The higher the relative amount of corn fed, the more pronounced these negative effects become. Research from the Innovation Research Team of Animal Nutrition and Healthy Feeding at Northwest ANF University, China, found that when feeding whole corn, goat rumen contents contained more corn particles, while duodenal digesta had fewer corn particles. In contrast, the cracked corn group showed more corn particles in the duodenal digesta. Their measurements showed that, compared to cracked corn, feeding whole corn increased the content and proportion of propionic acid in the goat rumen, improved total tract digestibility of crude fiber and protein by 10% to 20%, increased dietary net energy value by 20%, and significantly improved goat production performance. Overall, whole corn achieves the slow starch release in the rumen, ensuring efficient utilization of the corn itself while also maintaining efficient degradation of roughage. In goat feeding, whole corn produces the best production results. Finely ground corn, when fed in large amounts, causes a rapid drop in rumen pH, has low utilization efficiency itself, and suppresses roughage digestion, so its overall effect is relatively poor. Coarsely ground or cracked corn, because it degrades less in the rumen and passes through relatively quickly, cannot be fully digested in the small intestine, reducing energy efficiency and potentially leading to starch accumulation in the hindgut, which increases the risk of hindgut acidosis or inflammation to some extent. More than 30 years of field study by the Innovation Research Team of Animal Nutrition and Healthy Team at Northwest A&F University has proven that for small ruminants such as goats and sheep, whole corn has the best feeding effect. Finely ground corn falls in the middle. Coarsely ground corn has the poorest feeding effect. The higher the amount of corn fed, the more obvious these relative differences and effects become. Therefore, in the feeding of goats, sheep, and other small ruminants, we recommend feeding corn as whole kernels. For high-producing animals, especially when corn is fed in large amounts and roughage is limited, promoting whole kernel corn feeding is even more important. The content introduced in this video applies only to goats, sheep, and other small ruminants aged 3 months and older when fed corn-containing diets.